Hare Krishna, Leela Manjari Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada.
Just a minute, I have to turn on my my volume because it's too low. Okay, I think now. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Sanasi Ganga also, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please accept my humble obeisances to both of you. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev.
Please accept mine too. All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Give me 1 second. I will be right back and then I can start, with the prayers.
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Please accept mine. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev.
Please accept my humble obeisances.
One more second, I'll be right back, Mataji. I had to turn off the other lighting and turn on this lighting in here. Okay, so I'm ready now. We want to start with the prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Ganananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadam Sikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Srivastava Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama
Rama Rama,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Narayanam Namaskritya
Namaskritya,
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Narottamam,
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashta Prayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, today, Matajis, we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 7, texts 42 through 44. I'm just wondering if anybody is interested in reading the first text.
I can read.
Very good, Ruchi Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Deva Uvacha. Deva Uchuha. Urakalpapaye Swakrat Mudri Kratya Vikratam Twame Vadyaftasmin Salil Urgendradhi Shayane Uman Sheshe Siddhe Hridi Vimrashitadhya Padivaha Sa evadhyakshanya pati charasi bhrityana vasi naha. Can you scroll down because I'm reading from the screen? Thank you. Translation. The demigod said, Dear Lord, formerly when there was a devastation, you conserved all the different energies of material manifestation. At that time, all the inhabitants of the higher planets, represented by such liberated souls as Shanak, were meditating on you by philosophical speculation. You are therefore the original person, and you rest in the water of devastation on the bed of the Shesh snake. Now today you are visible to us, who are all your servants. Please give us protection. Purport. The devastation indicated in this verse is the partial devastation of the lower planets within the universe when Lord Brahma goes to sleep. The higher planetary systems, beginning with Mahalok, Janaloka, and Tapaloka, are not inundated at the time of this devastation. The Lord is the Creator, as indicated in this verse, because the energies of creation are manifested through his body, and after annihilation, he conserves all the energy within his abdomen. Another significant point in this verse is that the demigod said, We are all your servants. Bhartiyan, give us your protection. The demigods depend on the protection of Vishnu. They are not independent. Bhagavad Gita therefore condemns the worship of demigods because there is no need of it, and clearly states that only those who have lost their sense go asking favors of the demigods. Generally, if anyone has material desires to be fulfilled, he can ask Vishnu instead of going to the demigods. Those who worship demigods are not very intelligent. Besides that, the demigods say, We are your eternal servants. So those who are servants or devotees of the Lord are not very much concerned with fruitive activities, the performance of prescribed yagnas or mental speculation. They simply serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead sincerely, with love and faith, performing everything with that loving service. And the Lord gives such devotees direct protection. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, Simply surrender unto me, and I will give you protection from all the reactions of sinful activities. This material world is This material world is so created that one has to act sinfully, knowingly or unknowingly, and unless his life is dedicated to Vishnu, he has to suffer all the reactions of sinful activities. But one who surrenders and dedicates his life for the service of the Lord has direct protection from the Lord. He has no fear of suffering from sinful activities, nor does he desire, willingly or unwillingly, to do anything which is sinful.
Thank you very much, Ruchi Mataji.
Thanks for
Would someone care to read the text 43?
Can I read, Mataji?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Gandharva uchuhu amsamsaste deva marichya ete brahmanredya deva gana rudra purogaha क्रीडा भाण्डं विश्वम् इदं यस्य विभूमान् तस्मै नित्यं नाथ नमस्ते karavama. Translation. The Gandharvas said, Dear Lord, all the demigods, including Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, and Marichi, and the great sages are all only differentiated parts and parcels of your body. You are the supreme, almighty great. The whole creation is just like a plaything for you. We always accept
Can you
you as the
please scroll
supreme
down
personality of. We always accept you as the personality of Godhead, and we offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. There may be many gods from Brahma, Lord Shiva, um, Indra, and Chandra down to the rulers of the lower planetary systems, the presidents, ministers, chairmen, and kings. In fact, anyone can think that he is God. That is the false, puffed up conviction of material life. Actually, Vishnu is the supreme Lord, but there is even one above Vishnu, for Vishnu is also the plenary portion of a part of Krishna. In this verse, this is referred to by the word Amsamsaha, which refers to part and parcel of a part and parcel. There are similar verses in the Chaitanya Charitamrita which indicate that the Supreme Lord's parts and parcels again expand into other parts and parcels. As described in Srimad Bhagavatam, there are many manifestations of Vishnu and many manifestations of living entities. Vishnu manifestations are called Swamsa, partial manifestations, and the living entities are called Vibhinnamsa. The demigods like Brahma and Indra have been promoted to such exalted positions by pious activities and austerities. But actually, Vishnu or Krishna is the master of everyone. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Ara Sabhabhritya. This means that Krishna alone is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and all others, even the Vishnu Tattva and certainly the living entities, are his servitors. Baladeva is the immediate expansion of Krishna. He also engages in the service of Krishna, and certainly the ordinary living entities are serving. Everyone is created constitutionally for serving Krishna. Here, the Gandharvas acknowledge that although the demigods may represent themselves as the supreme, actually they are not supreme. Real supremacy belongs to Krishna. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna is the only supreme Lord. Worship of Krishna alone, therefore, includes worship of all the parts and parcels, just as watering the root of a tree also waters all the branches, twigs, leaves, and flowers. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Very nice. Thank you very much. Manasi Gangamataji or someone would care to read text 44. I think we have, who is that? Is that Prema Rasa Mataji? Are you on the call? Okay, well then I guess I will read. This is text 44. Vidyadhara uchuhu dvanmayartam abhipadya kalevare asin kritva mamahan iti durmatir utpatai svai shipto api asad vishaya lalasa atma mohan yushmat katamrita nishevaka udvyudasyet. That was a mouthful. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The Vidyadhara said, Dear Lord, this human form of body is meant for attaining the highest perfectional objective, but impelled by your external energy, the living entity misidentifies himself with his body and with the material energy, and therefore, influenced by Maya, he wants to become happy by material enjoyment. He is misled and always attracted by temporary, illusory happiness. But your transcendental activities are so powerful that if one engages in the hearing and chanting of such topics, he can be delivered from illusion. Purport: the human form of life is called artada because the body can very nicely help the embodied soul to achieve the highest perfection. Prahlad Maharaj said that even though temporary, the body can give us the highest perfectional achievement. In the process of evolution from the lower to the higher grade of living, the human form of life is a great boon. But Maya is so strong that in spite of achieving this great boon of the human form of life, we are influenced by temporary material happiness, and we forget our goal of life. We are attracted by things which will cease to exist. The beginning of such attraction is the temporary body. In this horrible condition of life, there is only one way of liberation: to engage in the activities of transcendental chanting and hearing of the holy name of the Supreme Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. The words Yushmat, Katamrita, Nishivaka mean that those who engage in relishing the nectar of the topics of your lordship. There are two narrative books which especially concern the words and activities of Krishna. Bhagavad Gita is the instruction given by Krishna, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the book containing topics exclusively about Krishna and his devotees. These two books are the special nectar of the words of Krishna. For those who engage in the preaching of these two Vedic literatures, it is very easy to get out of the illusory conditional life imposed upon us by Maya. The illusion is that the conditioned soul does not try to understand his spiritual identity. He is more interested in his external body, which is only a flash and will be finished as soon as the time is designated. The whole atmosphere will change when the living entity has to transmigrate from one body to another. Under the spell of Maya, he will again be satisfied in a different atmosphere. This spell of Maya is called Avaranatmika Shakti, because it is so strong that the living entity is satisfied in any abominable condition. Even if he is born as a worm living within the intestine or abdomen in the midst of urine and stool, still he is satisfied. This is the covering influence of Maya. But the human form of life is a chance to understand, and if one misses this opportunity, he is most unfortunate. The way to get out of illusory Maya is to engage in the topics of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya advocated a process whereby everyone may remain in his present condition without change, but simply hear from the proper authoritative sources about Krishna. Lord Chaitanya advised everyone to spread the word of Krishna. He advised, all of you become spiritual masters. Your duty is simply to talk to whomever you meet of Krishna or of the instructions given by Krishna. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness is operating for this purpose. We do not ask anyone to first change his position and then come to us. Instead, we invite everyone to come with us and simply chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Because we know that if one simply chants and hears the topics of Krishna, one's life will change. He will see a new light and his life will be successful. Okay. All right, so I'll go back to text 42. Now, so what we're understanding here is that the demigods are talking and they're saying, you know, what you do, Lord, and in the past, whenever there was a devastation, all of the different energies of material manifestation would go back into your body. And at that time, all the inhabitants of the higher planets, by such liberated souls of Sanaka, were meditating on you. So you are, therefore, the original person, and you're resting in the water of devastation on the bed of Shesha snake. So demigods are asking for protection from the Lord, And in here it's described what this devastation is. So it's really, now I'm going to get out of here for just a second and go to another spot so I can read this. It talks about a partial devastation of the lower planets. So within the universe, this is what after one, I guess, one day of Lord Brahma, he goes to sleep. And so in the higher planetary systems, starting with Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, they're not inundated at the time of this devastation. So again, the Lord, when he, because all of the energies of his creation came from through his body, or were manifested through his body, the same thing is going to happen after the annihilation. He's going to conserve all the energy within his abdomen. Now, I was just looking at a couple of things from, answer was by Romapad Swami. They were talking about how much of the universe is flooded during partial annihilation, etc. He answers a few questions here. He says, during the partial devastation, Bur, Buvar, and Svar are flooded. That is what is commonly referred to as the three worlds. Of course, the subterranean planets below Bhumandala are also flooded. So only the top four lokas are above the universal ocean, which is known as Ikarnava, one ocean. Excuse me. Regarding the two descriptions you provided, I don't see any contradiction. Mahar, Jana, Tapo, and Brahmaloka remain, and those lower are devastated. Similarly, in the second, the three worlds are devastated. These three are Bur, Bhuva, and Svarga, as mentioned above. The second description also points out that the residents of Mahar move up to Janaloka, not because it is destroyed, but because it got too hot there. As such, in both descriptions, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and Brahmaloka remain, though Maharloka becomes unfit for habitation. So they just get off of that Maharloka, it's too hot, and they move to Janaloka. It says during the partial annihilation, Lord Brahma remains in Brahmaloka. He also has a residence on top of Mount Meru, but that is part of Svarga, and it is thus inundated at the time. His abode on Brahmaloka is, however, undisturbed. During each of the subsequent days of Brahma, he has to recreate all 10 of the planetary systems which were devastated during his night. And let's see if I wanted to talk about this. Yeah, someone asked about if there was how about the bodies of the living entities? They asked Srila Prabhupada about the bodies of the living entities. They become manifest. How about the bodies after the partial devastation? Srila Prabhupada answered, there is no body. They are reserved in the Vishnu's body. And again, when there is creation, they come out. And it says the jivas who were residing in the devastated lokas enter within the body of Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, who is the super soul of the universe. And then there was something else mentioned, and you know, I thought it was pretty interesting. Just a moment. I think this was about the devastation again, and I started reading it, and I just want to get to it so that I can tell you about it. It's pretty interesting. Well, let me just say this. Yeah, here it is. This is in Bhagavad Gita 8:16, chapters 7 through 12. It says, those who progress in Krishna consciousness on the higher planets are gradually elevated to higher and higher planets. And at the time of universal devastation, are transferred to the eternal spiritual kingdom. I didn't know that. Baladev Vijabhushana, in his commentary on Bhagavad Gita, quotes this verse. And then it says, when there is devastation of this material universe, Brahma and his devotees, who are constantly engaged in Krishna consciousness, are all transferred to the spiritual universe and to specific spiritual planets according to their desires. So I gather, I didn't know this, that even within there are higher planetary systems, the highest ones, obviously, that they, at the time of the whole devastation, the universal devastation, they get transferred to the spiritual world. And that's, that's actually stated in Bhagavad Gita. So I just wanted to mention that. I thought that was pretty interesting. I didn't realize that. Okay, so I don't want to take too much time because we have 3 verses here, but so we have to realize, again, it's being pointed, Prabhupada is pointing out here, that the demigods as well as the living entities have to depend on the protection of the Lord, okay, Vishnu. So they are not independent either. And of course, we have been told that in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord condemns the worship of the demigods. He says there's no need to have demigods because if we have any material desire to be fulfilled, one can ask Vishnu instead of going to the demigods. And all your bases get covered. And even the demigods, as we know, they're eternal servants of the Lord. And well, I don't know how true this, well, especially the demigods in the upper planetary systems, they are not so interested, I don't think, in fruitive activities or performing yagyas or mental speculation. They just serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead as well as the devotees, right? And they perform everything with loving service, and the Lord protects them. This is how it goes. He says, the Lord tells us in the Bhagavad Gita, he speaks directly. He says, simply surrender unto me, I will give you protection from all the reactions of sinful activities. So whether we know it or not, the material world is created in such a way that, you can't avoid completely sinning, okay, knowingly or unknowingly. If we are dedicating our life to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then we do not have to suffer all the reactions of sinful activities. Otherwise, we do, okay, because that's just the nature of the material existence. And if we are surrendered and we dedicate our lives to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we get direct protection from the Lord, okay? And so that person will, by serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will not be suffering from fear. So when I realize that when I myself get into fear, then I'm not very surrendered at that particular time. Okay. And the devotees of the Lord, normally they know that the Lord is protecting them. And so they don't fear that, they're going to have to suffer from more sinful activities because they're not desiring those types of activities. They don't want to do anything which is sinful. It may happen without their desire, but they do not desire this kind of activity. So, okay, so we have the demigods speaking in 42, and in 43, again, we have the Gandharvas, and these are residents of the upper planetary systems. They're almost like, I don't know, angels. They're all the way up there. And so all of the demigods that you're saying to the Lord, look, even Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, Indra, Marichi, the great sages, they are only differentiated parts and parcels of your body. So once again, the Lord is the supreme almighty, great, and the whole creation is just like a plaything for you. And of course, the Gandharvas are offering their respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they accept him as the Supreme Personality. So we have to be careful. In the Brahma Samhita, it's said that the Krishna is the Lord. Okay, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there are maybe many gods and many demigods, and from Brahma, Lord Shiva, Indra, all the way down to the ones who rule in the lower planetary systems. And sometimes, and of course we have, like we have on this planet, we have presidents, ministers, chairmen, kings, okay? Anybody can think he's God, but it's false, okay? That is the puffed up conviction of this material life, that people think that they can become God, okay? Or they act as if they were God, you know? And so now we're learning here, okay, Vishnu is the Supreme Lord, but there's one even above Vishnu, because Vishnu is a plenary portion. I guess he's a part and parcel of a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, that's called Amshamshaha. Amshamshaha. It's a part and parcel of a part and parcel. So, you know, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, Lord Vishnu are parts and parcels of a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And the Chaitanya Charitamrita also explains that. It talks about parts and parcels, and those parts and parcels will expand further into other parts and parcels. So we have the Bhagavatam describes many manifestations of Vishnu and of living entities. Now, the Vishnu manifestations are called Spamsha, partial manifestations. Living entities are called Vibhinamsa. Vibhinamsha. So the demigods, all of the demigods were promoted to their exalted positions by doing, austerity and pious activity. But Vishnu or Krishna is the master of everyone. Okay. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabha Britya. So Krishna alone is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the others, even the Vishnu Tattvas, are his servitors, okay, as well as the living entities. All of them, including all the demigods, all the Vishnu Tattva, they are all servitors of the Lord. And Baladev, who is the immediate expansion of Krishna, also serves Krishna. And so everybody is created for serving Krishna. That's why we were made. And the Gandharvas say that even though the demigods, they may represent themselves as the supreme, they are not actually the supreme. Only Krishna can take that position. Real supremacy belongs to him. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Svayam is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam. He's the only Supreme Lord. And so worship of Krishna alone is all we need, because all the parts and parcels are included. And there's this analogy here that If you're going to water the root of the tree, that means you're watering all the branches, twigs, leaves, and flowers. The whole tree will be nourished if you water the root. So if we serve Krishna alone, we're serving all of his parts and parcels. So basically, this verse is really describing how we do not worship the demigods, and it's in so many different parts of the scriptures, and it's actually condemned. The Bhagavad Gita condemns it, and now in the text 44, the Vidyadharas. They also are these exalted beings in the upper planetary systems. Discussed here that this body is given to us. It's the best way we can attain the highest perfectional objective is through this human body. Okay, and the problem comes about where we get this body, and then once we're under the modes of material nature, we start to misidentify with the body and the material energy. Okay, and this is, we become influenced by Maya, and so we want to become happy through immaterial enjoyment, and we think that the body is where it's at. Okay, so we're all of us, we're misled, and we're attracted by temporary illusory happiness. Now, obviously, if we are hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord, we can be delivered from this illusion. So that's how powerful just hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord is. A person may not even want to be, desire to become Krishna conscious or engage in the service of the Lord, but he's doing it just by hearing topics about the Lord. One can become Krishna conscious. So again, in the purport, this human form of life is called Artada. So the body can help the soul to achieve the highest perfection. It houses the soul, and of course, even Prahlad Maharaj said, yes, it can give us the highest perfectional achievement. So it's a big deal that we have been given this human form of life. Now, we also have to recognize that even though we want to be Krishna conscious and we're doing all these things, we have to be very careful of Maya. Maya is very tricky, and Maya is very strong. So we can be influenced by the temporary material happiness, and we can forget our goal of life if we're not in the proper association. And it's just interesting. I was just thinking about that today. We are all attracted by things which will cease to exist. And the more I see people passing on in my family, the more I realize, oh my gosh, I've been so attracted to all of this, and it's all gone now. It all just goes at some point. It ceases to exist. And so even the body, it's, I think, very hard sometimes for people to, at least it is for me, to watch the body starting to fail in little ways, oh, this hurt, these muscles hurt, these joints hurt. Oh, my memory isn't as perfect as it was. I mean, or I can see my skin starting to sag in some places, or it starts to wrinkle in some places. You start to notice these things, and it's like, oh, yeah, this is pretty temporary, isn't it? it's very hard to accept it at times, I know that it's, it is part of life, but it's hard because we become attracted to the temporary body. And so if we want to seek liberation, what do we have to do? There's only one way, and that is to engage in the transcendental activities, okay, of chanting and hearing the holy name, okay, and relishing, not just hearing, but relishing the topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, hearing about his topics, listening about his leelas, listening to his instructions, all the different pastimes. And so Prabhupada describes 2 books, which are very, very important. Bhagavad Gita, which is the Lord himself who is speaking, is giving us instruction. And then the Srimad Bhagavatam, it contains topics about Krishna and his devotees. And so these are the special nectar of Krishna. And if we're going to preach now, we can get out of this material illusory energy by preaching from these 2 Vedic books, okay? And what's very difficult, and I think it's to do when you're trying to preach, is that everybody out there, most of the people out there, they don't try to understand their spiritual identity. They don't care. I've had many people over the years say, I really don't care what happens afterward. I'm just going to live my life now and be done with it. And when it's done, it's over, and I don't really care. I mean, it's very sad to say, but this is what we're dealing with in Kali Yuga, and people are more interested in the externals, the body, and all the things that are going to die. Everything will die, and everything that's alive, let's put it that way. And once we leave the body, then we have to migrate from one to another. And so everything, it says that the whole atmosphere will change when that happens. We won't remember. What we were doing in the previous life. We'll move on to another life. And Prabhupada points out that this desire to enjoy under any circumstances, we can be, he uses a worm as an example here. This living creature can be inside your intestines or in the abdomen, and in the midst of urine and stool, and still be satisfied. So all of this is because of Maya, the strength of Maya, or the spell of Maya. And so the human form of life is different because our consciousness is different from that of other living entities, or at least the animal kingdom, and the insect kingdom and the aquatics, etc. I'm not sure about different human forms, because there are supposedly many different human forms existing on different planets. I'm not sure where I believe though that if they have, if they're humanoid in some way, they do have the capacity to become Krishna conscious, and like a dog or a cat or a buffalo or a deer, they don't have the consciousness to do so. They on their own cannot choose God. So that's why this opportunity is so important for the living entity, okay, for human beings especially. We are very fortunate that we have this opportunity, so we don't want to waste it. And if we do, it's very unfortunate, because then we have to take birth again. And so we don't even have to change what our position is. Okay, we can be living in an abominable condition. We can be living in a rich home. We can be totally by ourselves. We can be, married happily or married to the wrong partner. It doesn't really matter. All we are asked, all that Lord Chaitanya's movement has asked is, look, just stay where you're at. Don't change anything. Just listen and hear from the proper sources and chant the holy names of the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And if we do that, your life is going to change whether you want it to or not. Okay, it will change you just simply by doing that. And we will see things differently. And then our lives will be successful. So I wanted to give a good 10 minutes at the end here for people to correct me or add to what I said or ask questions, whatever. So thank you. Hare Krishna. Would anybody like to say something? Text 42, 43, or 44.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
This is Premarasa Devidasi. Please accept my humble obeisances.
So nice to hear from you.
All glories to Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Mataji. So nice class. Like everything is so nicely explained. I really like your classes. It is so nicely researched and like extremely detailed. So it is always it's always very nice to hear from you. I was actually appreciating the point that you were making, how important it is for us to actually recognize and be aware of our great fortune of being connected with Krishna, whatever little ways we are trying. But even the fact that we are recognizing, or somebody is actually giving us that knowledge that this is the permanent and this is the temporary, that demarcation of where we should invest our energy, where we should invest our consciousness itself feels like a very big asset that we carry. So it's always nice to be reminded of it again and again, because it brings more remembrance of the situation and how we can deal with different difficult situations in life, like you're bringing up about how your family members have been leaving. And I think those difficult situations actually make us more aware and more renounced of the material things that we invest our energy in. So I was just appreciating. Thank you again for the very nice class, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Premarasa. It's very true. The more I see all these people leaving the planet, I'm thinking, oh my. So it just makes it very clear. None of this is going to stay. This will all change. It's not going to stay the same. And I think, I can remember being an illusion when I was younger. people don't want to hear about it. People don't think about death. Even some of the younger relatives, oh, you shouldn't talk about death. I said, why not? It's part of life. We
Yeah,
have to think about it.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the spell of Maya, where the reality is hidden and people are put into situation where they are just trying to enjoy and enjoy and enjoy, but not really understand the seriousness of life as it is. So, like you said, we have the same experience of, my parents would always say, hey, you should not talk about this, you should not talk about the death and things like that. But it's the reality, and that if we don't talk about it, we won't be able to really face the situation when it becomes a reality for us. So, yeah, it's very true. I was also appreciating another thing that Prabhupada has been continuously in every purport. Even yesterday's purport, we read about how important it is to actually chant the holy name, and how the holy name has the potency to actually deliver us from this material suffering. So even again in this purport today, again there is this mention about the holy name. So like so much emphasis is given, but I personally, for myself, I kind of lack that interest and the enthusiasm to really chant well and be absorbed. So something that I'm taking from these two classes and going forward is how important it is to actually seek that shelter, because like you said, that's the permanent thing that we need to hold on to, especially during difficult circumstances. So it's a very big, it's the strength that we need, which is coming from the holy name. So thank you again, Mataji.
Thank you, Prema Rasa. Would anyone else like to say something?
Hare Krishna, Govardhan Leela Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Leela Manjari Mataji.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
as Primarisa said, like, thank you again for a beautiful class. And I like the point that we are very attached to the temporary. And Prabhupada makes that point. And I see for myself, like, that it's very easy to get distracted in this material world. And the only solution, as Primaris also pointed out, is to keep ourselves in an association which is reminding us of the temporary nature of this material world. And of course, it comes from life, but better than that is to hear from the devotees and align ourselves to the reality. Um, and that will come from hearing about Krishna and also by chanting the holy name carefully. So that's how I feel from what we discussed. Thank
Very
you
good.
for the beautiful class.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for being here for me. I can't do anything without you all. Here we have a couple of minutes left.
So I had a question. I hope I can ask if there is still time.
If I can answer it within a short period of time, I will. If not, Mataji, I can answer it, tomorrow, so go ahead, please.
So yeah, the dilemma is always that since we have been given this precious human form of life, and it is not sure if we will be awarded the same beneficial circumstances in the next life, being given a human form of life, because it is much easier to fall down than it is to progress. And so anytime anything might happen which might make us fall down in our spiritual path, and if we may not get the human form of body, isn't it like only makes sense that to maintain it till we are assured that we have we will attain to Godhead, like to attain to the Krishna Loka and not leave our body before we attain the Krishna Loka. Otherwise it might not be possible to get this favorable circumstances again. And so to keep striving to maintain this body, even if like it feels like maybe it's time for us to go. We're getting the hint, but so that's a dilemma that I sometimes have, whether I should strive more to maintain the body or just leave it to God and not go after all these cures or um, go to the doctor and everything and just leave it to God. That, whether we should just leave it to God, that okay, if you have to take me, it's better you take me right now rather than uh, make myself fall down, or should I strive to keep continuing to maintain the body? So that's my question.
Well, from what I understand, it is very important to maintain the body because it is through the body that, we can perform our service to the Lord. If our body is not in good condition, if there's any possibility that we can strengthen the body, cure the body, all of those things, it's good because we can use the body in the service of the Lord. So with whatever amount of time we have left on this, in this earthly existence, we should use it in the service of the Lord. And you don't, even if prior to that, you haven't, not you, but someone has not been Krishna conscious, one can be delivered very, very quickly. If the Lord decides that you are surrendered at any particular moment, he can choose to liberate you at that time. And just by your effort to serve the Lord with the time you have left, you're certain to get a human body in the next life. If you're not committing, horrible sin and you're trying to follow, you have to want and desire to follow the Lord's the four regulative principles, to chant the holy names of the Lord. And if you're doing this with sincerity, even without it being perfect, the Lord is very merciful. So if one does not go to the doctor, just lets everything go, it's like you're playing God in a sense. It's like you're deciding when you want to let go and just don't care. We are asked to care for the body so that we can serve properly. If we don't, if we're not sleeping properly, we can't serve. If our health is poor all the time, it can deter us in certain types of service. So I think we are called to care for the body, and we don't get to decide when it's time to go. Krishna makes that decision, not us. That's why, throughout the ages, suicide has been a very, it's almost like being suicidal. You like will yourself to die. Well, if you're doing that, you're not really using this life for the in purpose that it was intended. This is my understanding, Mataji. So with whatever time we have, some of us, I came to Krishna consciousness later in life. I wasn't, a young teenager or anything like that. I was already in my 50s. It doesn't matter how old you are. What matters is that you come to know your soul and its relationship to Krishna, and serve in that capacity, whatever capacity you're capable of. If you don't have the physical strength to do what other people are doing, you do what you can do. The Lord will see that. He knows your heart because he's sitting next to you. as Paramatma. He knows every move you're making. So I feel that if anyone else wants to add to that, they may, but we, there are days, I wake up and I don't want to, I just don't want to get up. I'm so tired. I don't want to do this. This life is hard now with this coronavirus, and it is hard. But you know what? I don't get to make the decision that I'm just going to give up completely. I may have a hard day. I may need to chant more. I may need to hear extra lectures. I may need to speak to another Vaishnava. And in those ways, I come back to that's right. This is what I'm doing every day, even if it's a hard day, or, I'm not as motivated as I was before. We have to understand what our purpose is here, and use our time as wisely as we can. I mean, that's my understanding, Mataji. If anybody wants to add to that, they can, but I think that's the point. And you don't have to do it perfectly. You just do what you're capable of doing, and the Lord will see that. I see Manasi Ganga, you're unmuted. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for a beautiful class. You have a way of taking these purports and translations and bringing them into like a day-to-day understanding. And just wanted to thank you and for reminding us of how important it is to chant and associate, and that our lives are not going to always be easy, but it's the path that we're on. We're trying to get closer to Krishna, and we need to use the tools that that Srila Prabhupada has given us, Sangha and the books and the lectures, etc., and use it to our benefit, because as we make effort to get closer to Krishna, he if we take one step, he takes 10 towards us, and in that, as he approaches us, our minds become more engaged. And as our minds become more engaged and our hearts more engaged in service to the Lord, our lives become all that more glorious. Just think of all the sadhus and all the, we're hearing from Gurudev, all these like Lochan, etc. I mean, their lives are so connected to the Lord, and although they may not have, luxuries and riches and this and that, their lives are just glorious, and they're at the pit of their heart. They're satiated. They're very happy with whatever Krishna has given them. And so I want to thank you for your beautiful classes and the wisdom that you share with us. Hare Krishna.
Manasi Ganga, I'm just, I'm saying what's in the scripture here, and I'm just, thank you. You've always contribute so much, and so you're so detailed, also very eloquent, and you express all of your ideas very well. So I'm just like eternally grateful to all of you, to the way you express yourselves in these scriptures. And so thank you so much, Manasi Ganga Mataji, for helping me. Ruchi Mataji, did I answer your question appropriately?
Yes, thanks a lot.
Thank you. I'm just telling, I just want to say this because the time went by too quickly. But I got up on the wrong side of the bed yesterday. I don't know why. I mean, I got up, I was in a bad mood. I was depressed. And I think it was just cabin fever. We have to be able to tolerate situations which are unfavorable and to be able to not be affected so much by these things. And it took a little while. I mean, I had to do a lot to get my mind, to feel better, because the mind, can play tricks on us very quickly. So, but it worked, and I feel okay now. I still can be a little bit depressed with this kind of weather, with the snow and things like that. And I start thinking, oh, there's no hope for the future. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, you have everything you need right now. You have everything you need right now. You have God, you have Krishna in your life. What more do you need? That's all we need. And
Haribol.
oh my goodness, if I can just always remember that, then and everything will be okay. But, like you said, Maya is very powerful. So that's what we have to do. And what you have to find, do whatever it takes to keep ourselves from getting into those, we might be in a mood like that for a couple of hours or whatever, half a day, but then, you call up somebody who's in a very positive mood, and they can pull us right out of that. So that's it. All right, I guess we've heard from, has everyone spoken that need, yes, that's it.
Wonderful class, Mataji. Wonderful class and wonderfully explained everything. Very nice class.
Lavanya,
Thank
you're
you.
such a doll. You're all adorable. I'm telling you, so adorable. All of you, Mataji, so sweet. Thank you very much. And that's it. So we'll reconvene tomorrow with Leela Manjari Mataji. It's her turn. And just remember, if you desire to do a class, please let me know. And I will put you on the schedule. We have Monday and Tuesday slots open at 5 p.m. And that's it. Otherwise, we'll just continue as we've been until those slots get
On for Monday. If you want.
okay. So can we end now? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Thank you.